Welcome back to Cure of the Common Game. Today we're going to talk about Slinn Voda in deck number 285. Yeah, he's just begging to be that things of the deep, I mean, it's hard to go tribal when he names 5 specific tribes: merfolks, krakens, leviathan, octopuses, and serpents. By the way, octopuses looks like a weird word, but 8 mana or 10, depending on if you want to kick it or not. So he's an 8/8, so he's going to 3 hit if you manage to get the general, win out of him. But for 10, you get a Whelming Wave attached for 2 mana. So let's look at our quote unquote tribe. So first we've got, this is, well, in no particular order, Sea Lock Monster. You can turn something into an island, for island walk purposes, such as the benthic behemoth. Now, the downside to this tribe is, or tribes, is they are just super, super expensive. I mean, we have Tidal Kraken, where it's an 8 mana 6/6, but he is kind of unblockable, so that's pretty sweet. Shipbreaker Kraken, 6 mana 6/6, but later on you can pay 8 to make him a 10/10 and put 4 creatures to sleep. So that's pretty neat. Trench Gorger Commander card here. This can, in theory, if you've got enough mana to cast him, assuming you're, you're casting him fair, then you've got enough. He can exile any number of land cards from your library, and then you're drawing straight gas. Now, obviously, it's going to make him way bigger. Keep in mind, it's not adding to the 6/6, it's replacing the 6/6. So it can potentially be large and thin your deck of all the lands that you don't need, hoping that nobody has an Armageddon. Because y'all know I play with them. Striped River Winder, 7 mana for a 5/5, but it has hexproof, so that's why it made the cut for me, just because of the hexproof. Cryptic Serpent. We're going to have a few instants and sorceries. I mean, it's not real heavy, but it ain't real light either, so even then, if you get a 2 or 3 mana discount, hey, that's not bad. Ether Squall. Now, during your upkeep, getting 3 energy is pretty neat. I don't. Yeah, he could potentially spend a, crap ton of wingdings to bounce a god, but I say bounce a god like Wrath of God, not bounce a particular god creature. It's just my vernacular. Anyway, but this was the card that made me realize that energy was a thing maybe for this deck, so we'll get to energy here in a little bit. Kraken of the Straits just flat out says a lot of creatures can't block him. Tromokratis. Now, I love Tromokratis. Y'all saw the Tromokratis deck that was some time ago. I think it rotated around just getting in there with him or with it. I don't know that Krakens and Leviathans are, yeah, whatever. But if you can tap one of their creatures, he's unblockable. Or if one of their creatures happens to be tapped, he's unblockable. So then, of course, we have Stormy. I love Stormy. All lands are islands. And if you ain't got Flying or Island Walk, you can't attack. And he's got Island Walk. Now, granted, this does, work counter to some of our creatures, but you know what? Hey, that's fine too. If we can get in with repeatable 8/8 unblockable, yeah, I'm willing to deal with it. Because we don't have a whole lot of creatures for a. God, I hate to call it tribal because it's not really tribal. Breaching Leviathan. If you cast it from your hand, so this one you can't cheat into. Well, you can cheat into play. I mean, it is a 9 mana 9/9, but tapping all non-blue creatures or sleeping all non-blue creatures because they don't untap during their next step. So that's pretty neat. Then, of course, we have the Deep Sea Kraken um, with this Wallow text. It suspends, odds are this one you're never going to pay the 10 mana for, but it is a 6/6 and it is unblockable. Now, for the lower end, Merfolk is included in one of those 5 tribes, so I didn't go real heavy with the Merfolk. I've got the Tidebender Mage in there simply because he is a removal. Well, I mean, he's a 2 mana blue O-ring, more or less. Now, granted, it's only for a red or green creature, but that encompasses a whole lot of cards. And then, of course, we have Sea Singer. Now, I love Sea Singer. Another wall of text, stealing a creature. So now our problem arises that we need to play these creatures. We need to play them. So we need some ramp. I have a lot of cards here that may or may not be considered ramp, but first we're going to start off with High Tide. High Tide was one of the first cards in the deck I put in. It is a flavor win. It does. So I tried to use as much flavor of deep sea things as possible. There are a lot of cards that I could have put in, but I was like, I don't know that deep sea things would do that. So, but High Tide, naturally. Then we're going to go through a myriad of mana rocks. Of course, we have. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on these because a lot of them are just straight generic. Now, granted, the magnifying glass, you can investigate with it. Seer's Lantern is going to ramp you and help you scry. Of course, Gilded Lotus. The totem that we are probably never ever turning into a creature. Sky Diamond. Manolith. Mind Stone. Good early, good late. You can card draw. Thran Dynamo. Guardian Idol. Pristine Talisman. Now, Gemstone Array is, you can save up your mana in the bank. Now, granted, you're paying 2 for 1, but I guess them's the interest rates that you pay, spend 2 mana, put a charge counter on it, and you can remove any number of charge counters, get a color of any, So you're just storing that mana away for later. I have Quest for Ula's Temple. Now, strategically, this shouldn't even be in the deck. I know that because there's not a lot of creatures. I think I put the list out on Tapped Out, but I'm not exactly certain the number of creatures. I didn't really look. But we have a small percentage chance to actually hit a creature. But the flavor here is so good. And if you do, because you've only got to have, 3 counters on it? If you hit 3 times, then you're just dropping a free fatty every single instep. Not just yours, at the beginning of each instep. So it was, high risk, high reward. It may do nothing if it ever hits. And plus that guy that says you can just thin out all your lands, that'll increase your odds for the quest. Don't know. Pyramid of the Pantheon. It takes a little bit of work to turn this into a Gilded Lotus, but if you can get, it is turn 1 playable and turn 2 usable, so you can start, in theory, by the time that you get to 5 or 6, you've got it working and you can actually play something. Now, Kefnet's Monument, of course, your blue. The part I don't like here is it's just your blue creatures. Now, Sapphire Medallion would be absolutely wonderful in here had I another one, but alas, I don't. But it does also, when you do get to cast a creature, it has that extra little bonus there. Now, Helm of Awakening, yeah, it helps everybody, but we really need our stuff to cost less, and it does help, other things, not just your stuff. Now, Quicksilver Amulet was a shoe-in. You know that simply because, I mean, we're playing with expensive stuff. If we can cast this on turn 4, there's a good chance we can cast this on turn 3 and start dumping dudes on turn 4. So, and then the other part of the energy thing, Aetherworks Marvel. Now, I don't know how. Obviously, this works really well in any kind of sacrifice outlet deck. But just the ability to be able to cheat something into play, that's why it's in here. And it does fuel itself. Plus, we got that other guy that gives us 3 every upkeep. So, but still, the problem is we have no early game. I mean, we don't have any early game whatsoever. So, I put in a little bit of counter magic. Of course, we're going to start with counter spell. Now, spell swindle is worth. There aren't a lot of counter spells that are, I'm going to say, that are worth 5 mana, but I really like this one. I think this one is worth 5 mana. And since most of our creatures are way more expensive than the 5, we're gonna spend a lot of turns just holding up mana, passing turns. So spell swindle is one of those that you're just going to counter something big and get all the treasure, and each one of those treasures is a dang lotus petal. So that's beautiful. Now, obviously, dismiss to counter and draw. Negate is going to counter whatever removals aimed at your big dudes. Dissipate is just going to counter and exile. Arcane Denial, of course, counter draw for both. But now let's talk about Memory Lapse. Memory Lapse is, and granted, this is a mono blue deck, so it's not like that one blue pip is the selling point here, but I do like it as a 2 mana hard counter. And most of the time, if they are all of those merc target attacking creatures or whatever, most of the time, it's not that big a deal. Which kind of leads me into Delay. Another 2 mana hard counter. Now, granted, the card you countered gets Suspend. It's got 3. Suspend counters come off during the upkeep. How much is a... I think it's a strategical advantage, especially if they're playing like a board wipe. Because if they play board wipe and you delay it, everybody knows it's coming. And so people are questioning whether or not to commit creatures to the board. They are, even if it's another counterspell, if you delay another counterspell, you just hard countered it, because it's going to, 3 turns from now, it's going to pop in their upkeep. They're not going to have a target. And that deals with a lot of cards. It's not just counterspell. So anyway, I like Delay. Mana Leak seems horrible in EDH, but people want that value. I mean, how many times have you drawn that last land? Oh, that's the last land I needed to cast my commander again. And you tap out, you play your commander. If somebody had a Mana Leak, you would feel really bad. So, Mana Leak works. Got Levitation. While this may be the biggest flavor fail in the deck, but if all my giant fatties can fly, I am down with it. Now, Levitation, playing with my jump, my Alpha Autograph jump I got down in GP Memphis, because it is a great absolute trump card. I mean, I love it. Now, also, Siren's Call. There again, it felt really thematic for the deck. And they must attack. So you're not really goading so much, but because goading, they have to attack, not you. This, they can attack you, but odds are you're not playing this unless you've got a ton of big dudes to block. So, anyway, Siren's Call. Loved it. I had an alpha one, so figured why not. Now let's look at a little bit of card draw. I mean, I've got the Ponder, Opt, Brainstorm. Now, Flow of Ideas, of course, draws a ton of cards because we got 32 islands, 35 islands, a whole bunch of islands. So, Rush of Knowledge is going to draw a ton of cards because, you know, all our stuff's big. Now let's get into some other stuff. Now, Engulf the Shore, because of the amount of ramp that we have, Engulf the Shore can possibly not affect us as bad. So it's going to clear the board of all them weenies, you know. Crush of Tentacles. You kind of really hardcore want to surge this because you can bounce all non-land permanents, and if you paid it for the surge, you get a 8/8 octopus. I mean, okay, yeah. River's Rebuke. Target player has a bad day. That's just, I mean, that's all there is to it. Inundate is the best card I think in the deck. It's hard not to. I mean, yeah, blue's a very popular color, probably the most popular color, and blue does tend. The reason, do you know the reason why blue's the most popular color? Because we are Magic players, and everything got divided up when Richard made the game into the 5 schools of thought, pretty much, and us being gamers, we tend to gravitate toward a blue identity. And therefore, this is why blue is one of the most popular colors. Of course, not to mention, back in the day, they made some sick blue cards. Every now and then they still do. Of course, we have Whelming Wave. You know, it's going to bounce everything. Now, this will bounce Merfolk too. Displacement Wave. Controllable. And you can strategically leave your stuff and get everything else. Exhaustion for when that player does tap out. Now, Devastation Tide, it's a miracle. Hey, it happens. And Capsize. Now, love some Capsize. Everybody knows that. It's a great card. We've got the ramp to make it, you know, we don't have like the Omniscience or anything because, I mean, Omniscience would be cool and all, but. And last but not least, of course, we have Pendril Mist. Pendril Mist, like I said, we don't have a whole lot of creatures. And Pendril Mist is a great card to fight tokens. It's a great card to fight creature heavy decks because you're either going to pay for the ones you got and stop casting new ones, or you're going to lose, you know, it's welcome to the Kobayashi Maru. Anyway, that's what I've got for Slinn Vada. I do appreciate you watching. Like I said, the deck list is up out on tapped.com. So let me know what you think. But right now, we are going to shuffle and cut.